Hello, welcome to another video on our channel. Here we translate testimonies from people who have had near-death experiences and other spiritual experiences. Today we are going to know the story of Nolan Barrett. He says that during college he died and saw the path to humanity's salvation. If you are not yet subscribed to the channel, subscribe now. Leave a comment with your name and city. Now, let's listen to Nolan's testimony. My name is Nolan Barrett, and the story I'm about to tell completely changed the course of my life. I am an ordinary man, like so many others you can find walking the streets, but I carry with me an extraordinary experience that has profoundly transformed me. I grew up in a middle-class family with loving parents who always did their best to provide me with a good education. From an early age, I was taught about the importance of faith, although I confess that, during my adolescence and early adulthood, this aspect was a little forgotten amidst the discoveries and adventures typical of this phase. At the time it all happened, I was an ordinary college student. My days were filled with classes, academic work, and of course the parties and social gatherings that are part of campus life. I had a close group of friends, and among them was Jake O'Connor, a classmate whose family owned a farm on the outskirts of town. It was precisely on this farm that my life took an unexpected turn. It was a perfect spring afternoon, the kind of day that remains etched in memory for its beauty. The sky was a deep blue, dotted with fluffy white clouds that looked like cotton candy. The O'Connor farm was an idyllic setting, with its vast green fields stretching as far as the eye could see, punctuated by ancient barns that silently told the story of generations past. We, a group of friends eager to escape the stress of exams and classes, decided to organize a small outdoor party. The idea was simple: play some baseball, have a barbecue, and enjoy each other's company. Little did we know that this seemingly ordinary day would become a milestone in our lives, especially mine. I vividly remember how it all started. The afternoon sun bathed the makeshift baseball field we had marked out. Jake, ever the lively host, was on the mound, throwing the ball with a teasing smile on his face. Emma Wright, a classmate I had a secret crush on, was getting ready to bat. His golden hair shone in the sunlight, and his infectious smile lit up the entire field. I was positioned in left field, feeling the soft grass beneath my feet and the gentle breeze caressing my face. The air was filled with the sweet scent of spring, mixed with the smell of freshly cut grass. It was a moment of pure joy and camaraderie, the kind you wish would last forever. It was then that Jake threw a ball high and out of reach. Emma, determined to impress, hit her with all her might. The ball flew through the air, describing a perfect arc, and past the barbed wire fence that marked the property. Without thinking twice, driven by the desire to stand out and perhaps impress Emma, I ran towards the fence. At that moment, I didn't realize that I was about to cross not just a physical barrier, but also a metaphysical boundary that would forever change my understanding of life and death. In a rush of adrenaline and competitiveness, I jumped over the barbed wire fence without considering the consequences. It was a quick and reckless movement, typical of the invincibility we feel in our youth. However, as I landed on the other side, I felt a searing pain shoot through my left hand. The world seemed to slow down in that instant. I looked down and saw my palm open, ripped open by a deep, jagged gash. Blood, a bright and alarming red, gushed from the wound at a frightening rate. The pain was excruciating, as if thousands of red-hot needles were piercing my flesh simultaneously. I screamed for help, my voice shaky and desperate. My friends, who seconds before were laughing and joking carelessly, were now running towards me with panicked expressions. Sophie Reed, Jake's cousin who was studying nursing, was the first to arrive. Her wide eyes betrayed the seriousness of the situation, even as she tried to remain calm. "Nolan, be quiet. We'll take care of you," she said, her steady voice contrasting with the tremor in her hands. The next few minutes were a blur of frantic activity. Someone brought water to wash the wound while another tore a shirt to make a makeshift tourniquet. Blood continued to flow, staining the green grass a dark, ominous red. The pain was unbearable, but the fear that was beginning to settle in my chest was even worse. I could hear my friends' worried voices in the background, arguing frantically about what to do. The nearest hospital was an hour away, and the bleeding showed no signs of slowing. The reality of the situation began to weigh on me like an anchor. Little by little, I began to feel a weakness spreading throughout my body. My vision began to blur at the edges, as if a fog was forming around me. The rising panic in my chest was gradually replaced by a strange feeling of acceptance. "I'm really cold," I murmured, my voice sounding distant to my own ears. Emma held my good hand, her green eyes filled with tears. "Stay with us, Nolan. Help is coming," she pleaded. But I could feel something was changing. A strange sensation began to spread from my chest to the extremities of my body. It was as if every cell was being filled with an unknown energy, a mixture of warmth and lightness that defied description. Suddenly, I had the most surreal feeling of my life. It was as if I was separating myself from my own body. I could see the scene from above, as if I were floating a few feet above the ground. I saw my friends clustered around my motionless body, their voices now silent to me. I tried calling for them, saying I was okay, but no sound came out. I was trapped between two worlds, unable to communicate with the living, but still not completely disconnected from this plane of existence. It was in this moment of transition that I realized I was on the brink of death, and my journey into the unknown was just beginning. The feeling of floating above my own body was surreal. It was as if I were an impartial observer, watching a dramatic scene unfold below me. I could see my friends panicking, their faces contorted with worry as they struggled to save my life. Emma still held my hand, silent tears streaming down her face. Jake was on the phone, presumably calling an ambulance, his voice raised with desperation. As I watched, I felt an inexplicable force pulling me upward. Jake's farm, with its green fields and faded barns, began to shrink in size as if I were being carried away in an invisible balloon. The blue spring afternoon sky began to darken, gradually turning into a vast black abyss. The rise was initially slow, almost peaceful, but soon, the feeling of peace was replaced by indescribable terror. The void around me felt alive, pulsing with an evil energy I had never experienced before. It was as if thousands of invisible hands were trying to pull me down into the depths of that endless abyss. Whispering voices echoed in the darkness, murmuring words that I could not understand but that filled my being with fear and despair. I felt like every happy moment in my life was being drained away, replaced by overwhelming sadness. It was a feeling of absolute loneliness, as if I were the only consciousness in an empty and hostile universe. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. I tried to move, to fight against that force that was dragging me, but it was like swimming against an implacable current. Panic took over me, and for the first time, I truly understood what it meant to be afraid of death. It was in this moment of absolute despair that a thought crossed my mind. Prayer. It was something my mother had always taught me to do in difficult times, a habit I had neglected in recent years. Not knowing what else to do, I began to pray fervently. At first, they were just disjointed words, desperate pleas for help. But little by little, I felt a calm spread throughout my being. It was as if my prayers were creating a bubble of light around me, driving away the shadows and evil voices. And then, as an answer to my prayers, a bright light appeared in the distance. It was a tiny dot at first, but it grew quickly, moving towards me. The light was so bright it should have blinded me, but instead, it was comforting and welcoming. As the light approached, I felt all fear and despair melt away. It was replaced by a sense of peace and love so deep it defied description. It was as if I was being enveloped in the most loving hug I had ever experienced, multiplied by 1,000. From the light, a figure emerged. It was a man wearing a white robe, with a face that radiated kindness and understanding. His eyes seemed to contain all the wisdom in the universe, and his smile conveyed an unconditional love that made me feel completely safe for the first time since beginning this journey. The figure reached out to me, and I knew instinctively that I was about to receive answers to questions I didn't even know I had. Upon accepting the extended hand of the luminous figure, I felt a wave of energy course through my entire being. It was as if every cell in my body, or was it my soul, was being filled with pure, revitalizing light. In that instant, all my doubts and fears melted away, replaced by a sense of clarity and purpose that I had never experienced before. The figure, who emanated an aura of infinite wisdom and compassion, began to guide me through a series of visions that challenged my understanding of the universe and human existence. It was as if we were traveling through time and space, witnessing the vastness of the cosmos and the mysteries of creation. I saw the birth of stars and the formation of galaxies, understanding for the first time the true scale of the universe. I watched the evolution of life on Earth, from the first cells to the complexity of human consciousness. Each vision brought with it not just images, but also a deep, intuitive understanding that went beyond words. Nolan, the figure spoke, his voice resonating not just in my ears but in my entire being. What you see is but a fraction of the greatness of creation. Every life, every choice, every moment has a purpose in the world. Great design of the universe. As he spoke, I saw flashes of my own life, moments of joy, sadness, triumph, and failure. I realized how each experience, no matter how insignificant it seemed at the time, had contributed to shaping who I was. But why me? I asked, feeling small in the face of the immensity of what I was witnessing. Why am I seeing all this? The figure smiled with infinite understanding. Every soul has a purpose, Nolan. You are here to understand yours. The visions changed, showing me scenes of the future, not just mine, but that of humanity as a whole. I saw great challenges that the human species would face, devastating climate change, global conflicts, pandemics. But I also saw hope. People coming together, overcoming differences, finding innovative solutions to seemingly insurmountable problems. The future is not written in stone, the figure explained. What you see are possibilities. Each individual's free will shapes the collective destiny of humanity. Then I was introduced to a more personal view. I saw myself in the future, older and wiser, sharing my experience with others, inspiring people to find purpose and meaning in their lives. I saw the impact my words and actions would have, creating a chain reaction of kindness and understanding that would spread far beyond my immediate circle. This is your potential, Nolan, said the figure. Your mission is to return and live with the knowledge you gained here, to share love, promote understanding, and help others find their own purpose. I felt a mix of emotions, humility at the responsibility, excitement at the possibilities, and a little apprehension about how I could accomplish this mission. Remember, the figure continued, love is the most powerful force in the universe. It is what connects all souls, transcends time and space, and has the power to heal and transform. With those words, I felt a deep understanding take root in my being. I realized that I was being prepared to return, to live my life with a new purpose and a new perspective. As I absorbed the revelations and the weight of the mission entrusted to me, I felt a sudden shift in the energy around me. The luminous figure began to move away, and with it the cosmic visions that had expanded my consciousness. It's time to return, Nolan, said the figure, his voice now sounding distant, like an echo. Remember all you have seen and learned here. Your journey on Earth is not yet over. A mix of emotions invaded me. Gratitude for the transcendental experience, anxiety about returning, and a hint of sadness at leaving that state of absolute understanding and peace. But before I could express any of these feelings, I felt myself being pulled back as if an invisible force was dragging me through a tunnel of light. The feeling was dizzying, like falling from a great height, but without fear. Visions of the cosmos and the future of humanity flashed past me in quick flashes, as if they were being compressed and stored somewhere deep within my consciousness. Suddenly, I felt an impact. It was like diving into ice water, shocking and invigorating at the same time. My senses were flooded by an avalanche of stimuli, The smell of grass and damp earth, the sound of agitated voices, the feeling of hands touching my body. I opened my eyes with difficulty, blinking several times to adjust my vision. Emma's face was the first thing I saw, her green eyes wide with surprise and relief. Beside him, Jake and Sophie watched me with expressions of shock and disbelief. "He returned," shouted someone. "Call the ambulance back." I tried to speak, but my throat was dry and the words came out as a hoarse whisper. I saw. "Shh, don't try to talk now," Sophie said, her voice shaking with emotion. "You lost a lot of blood. We need to get you to the hospital." I looked at my hand, the source of this entire odyssey. The cut was still there, but the bleeding had slowed considerably. A wave of exhaustion hit me as if my body was finally registering the trauma it had been through. As my friends bustled around me, preparing to transport me, I tried to organize my thoughts. The experience I had just had seemed so real, so vivid, but it was already beginning to fade like a dream upon awakening. I clung desperately to the memories, fearing they might slip away. "Light," I murmured, trying to communicate something of what I had experienced. "I saw love, universe." My friends exchanged worried looks, probably interpreting my disjointed words as delirium caused by blood loss. But I knew the truth. I knew I had witnessed something beyond ordinary human understanding, something that would change the course of my life forever. As I was carefully lifted and placed into a vehicle, I kept my eyes fixed on the sky. The brilliant blue of the afternoon had given way to a golden twilight, the first stars beginning to twinkle on the horizon. I smiled, knowing now that each of those stars was part of a bigger plan, just like me. As tiredness overcame me and my eyes closed, I made a silent promise to myself. I would live each day with the purpose and understanding that had been given to me on this extraordinary journey. My life, I realized, was just beginning. The days following my return were a roller coaster of emotions and experiences. I woke up in the hospital, surrounded by beeping machines and the sterile smell characteristic of these environments. My parents were there, their faces etched with worry and relief. I was surprised to realize how much love I felt for them in that moment, a deeper, more conscious emotion than I had ever experienced before. The doctors were perplexed by my quick recovery. The cut on my hand, which had initially seemed so severe, was healing at a surprising rate. They attributed it to my youth and good health, but I knew there was something more at play. As I grew stronger physically, I struggled internally to process everything I had experienced. The memories of my journey beyond earthly life were like a vivid dream, sometimes crystal clear, other times hazy and difficult to access. I tried to share my experience with my friends and family, but I soon realized that words were inadequate to describe the magnitude of what I had witnessed. Emma, Jake, and the others visited me regularly, bringing flowers, cards, and stories from campus. I noticed how I saw each of them with new eyes now, realizing the divine spark that lived in each human being. Even small gestures of kindness, a smile from a nurse, a comforting handshake from a doctor, took on new meaning for me. As I recovered, I began to reflect on how I could fulfill the mission entrusted to me. How could I share the love and understanding I had experienced? How could you help others find their purpose? I decided to start with small changes in my daily life. I treated my parents with more gratitude and respect, resulting in a deeper and more harmonious relationship. In class, I began to see each topic as an opportunity to expand my understanding of the world, connecting the dots between academic knowledge and the universal truths I had glimpsed. I began meditating regularly, seeking to reconnect with that sense of peace and clarity I had experienced. Through meditation, I was able to access fragments of the visions I had, reinforcing my determination to live a life of purpose. My friends noticed the change in me. "You look different," Emma commented one day as we walked around campus. Calmer, more focused. I smiled, knowing I couldn't explain it completely, but trying anyway. "Let's just say I had a change of perspective," I replied. I realized that there is much more to life than what we see at first glance. Over time, I found ways to share my experience and the lessons I learned. I started participating in discussion groups about spirituality and philosophy. I got involved in volunteer projects, looking for practical ways to spread love and compassion in the community. Each day became an opportunity to live with intention and gratitude. The challenges I faced, whether academic, personal, or spiritual, did not disappear, but the way I approached them changed drastically. Where I previously saw obstacles, I now saw opportunities for growth and learning. As the months passed, I realized that my near-death experience was not an isolated event to be kept as a relic, but rather the beginning of an ongoing journey of self-discovery and service to others. Every interaction, every decision, became a chance to manifest the love and wisdom I had experienced on that fateful afternoon on the farm. And so, with a heart full of purpose and a mind open to the infinite possibilities of the universe, I continued my journey, knowing that each step was an opportunity to make a difference, not just in my life, but in the great tapestry of human existence. If you've made it this far, listening to my story, I want to leave you with one final message. Don't wait for a near-death experience to awaken to the beauty and purpose of life. Every day is a precious opportunity to make a difference, to love more deeply, to seek understanding, and to grow. Remember that you, like me, are part of something much bigger. Your actions, no matter how small they may seem, have the power to create waves of positive change in the world. Live with intention, love unconditionally, and always seek the light, even in the darkest moments. Life is an incredible gift, full of mysteries and possibilities. Enjoy every moment because each breath is a new chance to reconnect with the greater purpose of your existence. And above all, never forget, love is the most powerful force in the universe, capable of transcending even the limits between life and death. So what did you think of this incredible story? Leave your opinion in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Activate the notification bell to be notified with each new video. Let's bring hope to more people that there is life beyond what the eyes can see.